Welcome back to the PokerStrategy.com Team Liquid Star League. I don't know if the observer camera was on NaNiwa's screen, but we did see those probes sneak their way to behind the minerals. Husky, I don't think they're supposed to go there.
I know, they're just being silly. NaNiwa feeling so confident that he will delay his mining as if he is playing fastest possible map or something like that. But yeah, he is going to be spawning down here in the bottom left side as the red Protoss. And of course, this is a 1v1 tournament, so there's only one opponent here in the bottom right side. It is going to be GoOdy, who's got to be feeling pretty good after that last game.
Oh. So this map is going to be on GSL Crevasse. This map, as we were saying before, is one of those larger style Korean maps, but I want to note that almost pretty much at any location on the map, it's just a few feet to a nice narrow choke point. So that is exactly why I was suggesting that GoOdy would really like to play on this map. And as we can see, GoOdy is going to be delighted at these positions. I mean, look at this, Husky. The big, juicy natural expansion for NaNiwa is just right next door to GoOdy. GoOdy needs to just knock down Pandora's rocks on that side. They're called destructible rocks now, but in the original version it was a bunch of question marks, and QXC named them Pandora's rocks. Those are the center rocks on Crevasse. All GoOdy has to do is knock those down and then can immediately begin the aggressive push towards NaNiwa. And let's see what direction NaNiwa scouts in. It looks like, again, look at this very safe play from NaNiwa. He just briefly goes through the center, making sure that there's nothing there.
Also, again, we were mentioning this in the last game, Sean, is the naturals for GoOdy, or the natural for GoOdy is going to be facing away from his opponent, and considering that he's a Terran and so far has shown us turtling play, he is going to be super ridiculously happy about that, and then when he decides to move out, he will be super close to his opponent. So I am curious to see on if NaNiwa is going to play a similar style to last game, where he tries to find a timing window that he can move in with a lot of Colossus to try and punish his opponent, or if he's going to be much more aggressive than that, seeing as how the last game did not play out in his favor. There's really no point in that game, except for maybe during the Phoenix harassment, that he was slightly ahead, if at all. And so GoOdy probably, I would assume, I don't know if you agree here, Sean, will play a similar style in this game that he did last game.
Yeah, I would not be surprised at all. I mean, I, again, do think that he'll probably end up throwing down perhaps a faster command center, but we're seeing GoOdy get that second refinery before he begins the factory, always a sign that there's a big gas play coming up. He, could go for the Banshees, as you were saying last game, but would not be surprised to see him just go straight into mech. And I love that point you bring up, Husky, about how the Phoenixes perhaps didn't do as much, and we're seeing NaNiwa go straight for the fast expansion at the back door. I do like this play from NaNiwa. His strength is standard, so it looks like by going for standard in this game, he might just automatically put himself into a better position.
Yeah, and also the spawn locations are going to play a huge role in this one, because if NaNiwa spawns, say, where GoOdy is, he may not decide to take this expansion because Banshee Harass would be so much more effective, just because the expansion in the back door of the base so easy to harass with those aerial units, and the flight distance is much shorter as well. Well, right now, if GoOdy decides to go for Banshees, it's going to be easiest for him to harass the main, which theoretically should be easiest for NaNiwa to defend. So spawn locations play a huge role here, and this SCV, being as pesky as they always are, is going to scout this expansion timing. That poor Zealot, I always just wish the first Zealot could run just a little bit faster, because scouting SCVs for Terran is going to see exactly what's going on here.
Oh, I know. At least it's not StarCraft 1 Zerg against SCV, where the SCV would be in your base till like the 13-minute mark, and there was absolutely nothing you could do about it. Either way, we are going to see GoOdy go for that fast Banshee. Looks like in the main of NaNiwa, he's now getting his robotics facility. He should likely be throwing down some more gateways quite soon, but I'm a little shocked to see him not doing that, spending all his chrono boost on those probes. However, I want to note that I'm really not liking this defensive bunker play that we're seeing GoOdy do. I mean, building the bunker is great. However, I really think that leaving the leaving the Marines down the ramp as he had them before would be an extremely effective way to convince NaNiwa that there, are more options possible than there really are. It doesn't actually matter, though, because it looks like NaNiwa is just not going to scout at all. Looks like NaNiwa is just playing ultra safe. Still only has one gateway, Husky. He might even be trying to take another base really soon here.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what you think, Sean, about the expansion for Goody. Do you think it is a good idea to take the one inside the main base that's a little bit more safe? But if he's going to be going for Banshees and he's throwing down another factory as well, is 3 gas going to be enough to sustain that?
Well, I think that what most players are going to do when they're meching is just go for a pretty fast third. Get maybe 2 factories churning out tanks 2 at a time. Once they end up with 3 to 5, throw down another command center, use those Marines in the bunker to help out a little bit, and all in the meanwhile using this Banshee harassment to gain a little bit of an edge. There's the Banshee moving around the top side. We see that there's no cloak researched at this point, and now it's moving into the backside of NaNiwa's expansion, completely undefended. There's the damage being dealt. We see a Stalker getting morphed on in, but we're going to see Goody just go ahead and target fire that Stalker, because Banshees do beat Stalkers in one-on-one bouts. No, looks like he's going to go for a few extra SCV kills, but he needs to be careful. He's, inching his way away just in time.
Barely escapes with 20 HP on that Banshee, did rake in 5 kills there, and also Goody is not going for additional Banshees here. This is the only Banshee that he has made. He did not invest in that cloaking, so he has to do much less damage to warrant having that Banshee. That Banshee should come into play a little bit. She is almost flying off the edge of the map there, all the way in the top left, but I'm sure Goody won't forget about her and will bring her to at least when he decides to push out and use her in that situation. Now we do have Thermal Lance on the way for NaNiwa, as well as a Colossus, keeping in mind that NaNiwa took an early expansion and got his gateways a little bit late, so the timing of this is going to be fairly early, and Immortal on the field as well. So his tech is looking really healthy, and inside Goody's base, once again, we do have 3 factories, and the third add-on is again going to be that similar reactor that we saw last game.
I'm always so stupidly impressed by NaNiwa's ability to just get ahead when nothing's going on. Look at this, 71 food to 61 food. Just getting ahead by just sitting and hanging out and building stuff. And look, now getting a full 15 food ahead and gearing up to take another expansion. That's that extremely smart economy timing we always see from NaNiwa. There's the third Nexus going down right now. We see that Colossus count continuing to climb. And, looks like that Forge at the back also getting that +1 attack. Going to be very, very important for dealing with that mech army. Plus armor is not as effective against mech because, if the tank's doing 50 damage and you can drop it to 49 damage, it doesn't quite help as much.
And in the center, we see an SCV happily repairing that Banshee. Not only is he using it to grab the Watchtower, also to get that Banshee up to full HP, so he could potentially do a 2-prong attack if he decides to move out, harassing that natural inside the main base. There is an observer there, just cautiously having it there in case the Banshees do show up with Cloak, although his opponent doesn't have Cloak, but might as well be safe. And the observers once again seeing everything that's going on inside the base of Goody, so NaNiwa knows that there's 3 factories, and we'll see if he can see the 4th factory. Doesn't know there's a 4th factory. He can assume, though, that if Goody is going to play similarly to the last game, that, well, there's probably a 4th factory hidden in there, and NaNiwa again playing safe as he has 2 cannons warping in. He has his Twilight Council as well as his +1 attack, so he is teching very heavily while just sitting back to protect this third. Look at the army at the third. That is so measly, and only a top player like NaNiwa can, get by with so few units.
2 Colossus, an Immortal, and a Zella. That's like a single-player army right there. We see those Colossi, completely ripping apart the Hellions who try to do their little troll harass. Goodness, no, shall not occur. And, NaNiwa, the reason there's such a small army there is he's positioning everything so cleverly around his base, being able to deal with any sort of drops, any sort of Banshee harass. But, looks like Goody does have that one Banshee parked behind the second again. Here's the move from Goody out to the third base. We see that armory. Interesting, not getting the +1 attack for the factory units, getting the +1 air attack, the +1 ship weapons for the Vikings. NaNiwa's well known for getting a robotics facility extremely early, favoring the Colossus as the core of his army more so than most Protosses. So Goody having a solid read on that.
Do you think that right now this is the time for NaNiwa to push out? Because I'm looking at the siege tanks of Goody right now, and they seem fairly exposed. There's no buildings in front of them, and if those Pandora rocks that we were talking about are destroyed, NaNiwa can be knocking at the front door of Goody at any second. Do you think the positioning of this third base for Goody is going to be good for holding off this push?
I really think there's 2 big plays that NaNiwa needs to do right now. One is to begin moving his army towards that Xel'Naga Watchtower in between them, because not only does that give you the vision advantage, but that also lets you have control of that high ground area. And again, high ground does play a pretty significant role in getting good positioning. If a player's not careful at any point, suddenly the units that you can't see are basically invincible. Also, the other move is to knock down these Pandora's Rocks on the left side and begin taking more expansions along the left of the map. NaNiwa cannot hope to camp effectively on a 3-base versus 3-base. He will always lose to these ridiculously powerful tanks, and there he is going to the Watchtower. Love that play. He's starting to knock down the rocks. If he can hit those tanks when they're unsieged, he will have a massive advantage.
There is a lot of Hellions here for GoOdy. It's going to come down to, can he roast away this fairly large Zealot numbers here? With those, are the Zealots going to survive long enough to get up in the Siege Tanks' faces? The Siege Tanks are spread out in a line, but not spread out very far from each other. And considering that Zealot charge is done, that will play a huge role here. The Zealots will be on top of those tanks in no time, cautiously taking out this first missile turret. So here comes the push, using his Observer here to spot this, but GoOdy is shooting the rocks there. A couple volleys. The Zealots are going to be charging in here now and trying to cause as much damage as possible. GoOdy is not going to be in very good shape after this attack.
An amazing push by NaNiwa. Every single Protoss player would have cowered away from the Panzers, but not NaNiwa. Moving out at a perfect time, right when GoOdy was preoccupied with knocking down the rocks between his main and his natural, doing huge damage. There's the target fire on the orbital command. NaNiwa just having crisp timing with that push. GoOdy taken by surprise, and there is the good game. I cannot believe I'm actually going to rewatch that last little attack because I am blown away that NaNiwa was actually able to break in and do that sort of damage at that point in time.
Yeah, it does show you the effectiveness of finding the right time to move out. I think this is something similar to what we saw NaNiwa do in the last game, and so maybe he said, well, if it doesn't work then my opponent won't expect it this time. So once again, moving out right around when he has 3 bases, and I still have the replay open. He is also securing a 4th during that major attack, so doing the golden rule of trying to expand while attacking. So one thing I do like that GoOdy did is, you were mentioning, Sean, the Protoss needs to start expanding to the left side of the map. He did have Hellions running everywhere to spot out those expansions, but he has a Banshee in the center of the map and both Hellions in the top left side. So every unit that he could have used was not at his main base during that attack, so he just was not fully prepared there, and all 3 Colossus were able to survive. That air attack had completed, but the Vikings just not able to do that much. And looking at the main base of GoOdy as well, he still had 3 siege tanks there, just kind of sitting there out of range of those units. So there, I mean, if you start adding all those units up, maybe that battle would have been a lot more close.
Yeah, you know, the reason that GoOdy was able to hold off NaNiwa's attack in Game 1 on Tal'Darim Altar was that the fact he had like 15 tanks just stretching farther and farther back. All tanks all over the horizon, and you saw NaNiwa kept trying to break in through that narrow alleyway, but just too much metal there to deal with. But in that game, I love how NaNiwa got everything in position and then led with that Observer. Just checked, is there too many tanks here for me to break through? And it looks like NaNiwa just did a little bit of basic counting and said, well, 5 is not so high, so I will attack. And it turned out to be a great decision, especially ripping apart the Hellions, baiting them forward, so that way the Zealots were completely uncontested as they marched up to those tanks, even dealing the friendly fire damage between his own tanks. So that means that NaNiwa will be getting a best of 3 now, as we have the series tied up 1-1. And what's so awesome, Husky, is this is the exact same way that all of yesterday's best of 5 started out.
Yes, so now we are guaranteed 4 games at the very minimum. There is still that chance of a 5th game as well, which has me all giddy because, you know, you do not get to see matchups like this very often, and best of 5s are where boys are turned into men, or however a saying like that goes with I don't even know, but I am excited simply because we could see it will for sure go to the map Xel'Naga Caverns, which I think a lot of people they message me and they say, I'm so sick of this map, but it is a awesome tournament map because it is fairly balanced, and also the players have so much experience on this map, probably more so than the GSL maps, as you don't get to play Crevasse and Terminus Re on the ladder. Blizzard recently adding Tal'Darim Altar, so players will be familiar with that. So I think that Xel'Naga Caverns will be a huge map for either player. It could be the match deciding map as it will be that 4th map. So again, if you're just joining us, it is tied up 1-1 right now. So whoever you're rooting for, they have an equal chance of winning going into game number 3, which will be on Shakura's Plateau. Make sure, guys, to keep tweeting, keep Facebooking, keep telling all your relatives, call sick into work and all of that, as we are just getting started. We could easily be here all day, which I am hoping for because I'm a total StarCraft nerd. So I will once again allow Sean, I will allow you to take this away just to make sure we don't step on any toes. And before that, though, make sure, guys, to go check out the Team Liquid raffle, which is a huge way that you can directly support Team Liquid. If you love the TSL, go check it out. It's going to be TeamLiquid.net raffle. Unfortunately, you cannot be in America for that raffle, or in the US rather. So yeah, definitely go check it out. It's TeamLiquid.net/raffle. You have a chance of winning a trip to Korea with tons of free money to blow on, you know, whatever the Korean cuisine of your choice is, and you get to meet awesome people like Tasteless and all that. So definitely go check it out. TeamLiquid.net/raffle. It is now your turn, Sean.
Well, I do want to say that this map is going to be a treat for Goody. I have seen him time and time again do some amazing mech plays on this map. A really, really important factor to consider is the fact that on Shakura's Plateau, the natural expansion is ridiculously easy to defend, especially if you have a billion tanks there. They can all sit on the high ground and shoot at the ramp. You can have them in the expansion. They can shoot down the ramp to anything on any side. So you are guaranteed to have a solid lockdown 2-base set. And of course, once you end up with a large enough army as Goody, you can move right on down and secure the other main's natural expansion and the other main. So essentially, you can turtle, push, and be guaranteed 4 bases. So it's a very, very nice map for mech. And then even after you've secured your bases, or before, it doesn't really matter. Once you have a huge army, literally the center is one big line. So you just push from A to B, walk the tanks slowly, and you're going to be in great, great shape. The only real concern is that there's that back door on this version of Shakura's Plateau. Blizzard recently removed the back door, changed the structure of the map slightly. However, in this version, in the Team Liquid strategy, or the TeamLiquid.net, sponsored by PokerStrategy.com league, you do have those back doors, so the players will have a little bit more familiarity with that, but also a little bit more vulnerability at that backside. So, without any further ado, let's jump directly into Game 3 between ESC's Goody and Dignitas.NaNiwa. Tied up 1-1. Let's see who can take the lead in Game 3.